So how do you start introspection in self-honesty? Like, what does that mean? Well, it's really the beginning of being authentic. That's what starts authenticity. I think it's one of the most attractive things that you see in people is like, wow, that person is really authentic and true to themselves. It's a hard thing to do, but what it really is they're honest with themselves. You know, how do you become really honest with yourself is you need to do introspection. Now, it's so easy to start, but it's hard to continue to do for the rest of your life because it takes a lot of energy and it takes a lot of ownership. And a lot of times when we're so stuck on our egos and we've been living our lives based off our autopilot, our egoic desires, and our subconscious mind, right? Because most of our decisions are just ran through our subconscious. But this brings your subconscious to conscious, and you can begin to heal and let go, become, in touch with yourself. So it all starts with just asking yourself, like, why did that situation make me feel that way? Why am I feeling this way? Just start asking yourself why. And really just be honest with yourself. You have nothing to lose. It's not like anyone's going to find this out. In the beginning, it's really going to start to erode your self-confidence and self-esteem. But it's not eroding your self-confidence and self-esteem. What it's actually doing is just breaking down your ego. It's really if you're really trying to get rid of your ego, this is how you do it. So what's an example though? I remember the other day I was at the gym, I was working out, and it's silly, it's small, right? But we're going to make it we're going to blow it up a little bit. We're going to zoom in. So I was at the gym, and the gym's a small gym, so I wanted to stretch and do mobility with a mat, like after I worked out. Muscles were warm and stuff, and I had gotten a mat, and I had gone into like the little studio where there's a bunch of mirrors where you can do your stretching, your calisthenics, whatever. And there were two women in there dancing, like loud music, like, Latin music and stuff, right? So I went and I was like, okay, I'll just go sit in the corner and not going to bother anyone. I guess one of the women was an instructor for this. It was a group dance class, but there's only the instructor and another woman. She comes up to me and she's just like, hey, like, you can't be in here. You got to leave. I'm responsible. She went into this long explanation about how she's responsible for everyone in there. And, if you're in here and you get hurt and all this stuff. And I was like, I had kind of had like a long day, right? And I had looked at her and I was just like, well, how am I going to get hurt stretching? I was like, that's ridiculous. I told her that. I was like, that's silly. Got caught up in my human a little bit, my emotions, right? A little frustrated. And I started kind of like debating her a little bit about it. And I finally was just like, all right, fine, whatever. And I had looked at her before I left and I said, you're being ridiculous right now. Like, this is silly. She didn't respond to me, immediately after, but this is the important part, is immediately after that, I had felt some things, okay? Now, this is where most people stop, and this is when people are really attached to their egos. What people do is then they start to rationalize and justify, like, well, I'm right. The mind is really tricky in that regard, as the ego starts to rationalize about why it's right. But you're still, as empaths and highly sensitive people, we're still left with those emotions. Like, it doesn't go away, and you don't feel good. You just feel good. You just, like, that confrontation just has a lot of emotions. Well, and again, but this is where most people still stop. And they just don't look at it. They don't look at the emotions or why. They're like, okay, I'm right, whatever. Screw that person, man. Screw her. I couldn't do my stretching. And I had asked myself, well, why am I feeling first of all, what am I feeling? I was like, well, I feel a little bad that I felt a little bad that I had, like, kind of reacted the way I did, because she was just doing her job. It's just like, that was just her job. She's like, I just can't have people in here. So I felt a little bad. And then I was like, man, I'm also just exhausted and tired. Okay. So those are the two emotions. I was exhausted, tired, and a little short-fused because of that, okay? And then I felt bad. Why did I feel bad? Well, because it was her job, and I had just kind of reacted poorly to her and kind of was a little mean. Why did I feel a little mean? Why was I like that? Well, because I'm exhausted and tired. Okay, there you go. Did the introspection. I was honest about it with myself. And ironically enough, I was in the gym. I was talking to one of my friends, and she had come up to me afterwards. And she was very calm and relaxed and just very genuine about it. She's just like, hey, you can use the mats, like the room now, like we're done with our class. And I was like, okay, thank you. And outside of the gym, because it was around like the Halloween-ish time, right? She had it was like a week or two ago, and there was like a bouncy house outside and trunk or treat for the kids and all this stuff. And I cut the conversation short with my buddy, and I was like, okay, well, I gotta go, man, whatever. So then I walked out there hoping to find her because I wanted to apologize to her and clear out that karma, that negative energy. Even if she hadn't responded well, it was like, okay, well, I did my due diligence right there. I tried. So I went up to her. Fortunately, she was out there, and I hanging out for a second. I just went and apologized to her. And I was honest. I was authentic about it. I just said, hey, look, I just want to apologize for earlier. I know it really didn't seem like a big deal, but I was just having an off day, and I just, wasn't fair to you to throw that on you. She was like, it's cool, and it's fine, whatever. And that was it. That was all of it. But that's what being authentic is. Now there's some situations, though, where, I've had situations in the past. I actually just had one recently where I just, I kind of did stand up for myself and kind of did express how I was feeling, because I felt, didn't think, I felt that it was the right thing to do. And I didn't apologize for it. I'd stood up, someone was acting a fool. And I'd stood up for myself a little bit, right? And I'd spoken my truth, and it was my truth. And I didn't apologize after that. I've seen the person since then. I just didn't apologize because of it. They were talking some smack, but it wasn't just like any smack. It was something that was not true. They didn't know I was there. They didn't know I was like around the corner, and I'd kind of, I just kind of, what's the word? Leveled with them a little bit. I had spoken my truth about it, which was that that's not true. Now, I know someone might come in there and say like, oh, well, you just, your ego, that was your mind. It was my truth is what it was. Authentically felt like I needed to do it. So I did it. And I didn't authentically afterwards feel the need to apologize for it. So that's where the introspection comes in. That's what being authentic is do the introspection afterwards. Do I feel the need to revisit this again? Like, okay, why? I did the same thing. Okay, well, why did I react that way? Was it, why did I have this? Why did I, okay, I wasn't even angry, and this is what I'd realized. I'm like, okay, I reacted that way because I was angry. It was just because I felt the need to do it. I felt the need to do that. And I didn't feel bad about it. Okay, so I'm not going to apologize. Not every interaction does, nothing's cookie cutter dry. Like everything's like has a formula or system to it. You need to be authentic in the moment for how that is, right? And that's introspection. That's how you sleep at night. I think a lot of the reasons people can't sleep at night is because they just have so much emotion and so much thought, and they just don't know where to start. They're like just acting so subconsciously, and so they're not even aware of why they're doing what they're doing. And then when they're trying to sleep at night, like all of these emotions and thoughts and everything is just bundled up in their head. And then they take, trazodone, pharmaceutical drugs to help them fall asleep, and they wake up and they do it again. Well, eventually that's going to come to a halt. Something big's gonna happen, whether it's a mental breakdown or, a huge anxiety attack or a big anger outburst or something. And then they're not gonna know why about that either. That's why it's so important to start the introspection and the self-inquiry now. You know, that's how you have a peaceful mind. That is the number one way to a peaceful mind is self-honesty. It is. You can do it in your everyday life and in every situation you go through in life, and you can act accordingly. If you feel the need to apologize for something, a lot of times your ego won't let you do it. You know, not all the time. You might not feel the need to all the time, but sometimes, like, you might feel the need to, and then you don't do it. Then your ego bothers you, and then like you're at there's battle that's going on in your mind, up in your head. Like, oh man, I wanna apologize, but my ego won't let me. And there's this battle, and that's like so much contention and stress and anxiety and worry because of that. Just do what feels right to you. If you feel the need to apologize for something, and this is just one example, right? If you feel the need to do anything, just do it. Say it, right? If you don't. But you need to genuinely ask yourself if you do. And as empaths and highly sensitive individuals, we're like predisposed to having this level of introspection and being in touch with our emotions anyways. So we're the lucky ones. All right.